What's up, fam? Extraordinary Life with Elijah, and you're watching this video on Sunday, June 15th, 2025 at 10:50 a.m. MST. This week, gonna be dipping back to a previous video that I posted called, I just forgot the name of it. I even looked it up so I wouldn't have to do this. Culture of Confession Part 3. If you want to go ahead and go back and see that video, I'll link it up in the description above. But in it, I mention an aside that said that the older brother in the story of the prodigal comes back to the house, hears this raging party going on, asks the servants what is going on. When the servants come out, tell him that the younger son has come back, brother throws a fit, goes to the field. When the father goes out to then confront the older son has this very interesting insight for the father. When this son of yours runs away, squanders all of the family inheritance on wild living and prostitutes, and comes back, you welcome him back in, etc. and so forth. My thought in the Culture of Confession Part 3 was that that's incredibly disturbing, very unnerving, that Jesus is telling a story of the prodigal son to the Pharisees and teachers of the law, telling them about what the kingdom looks like. And obviously, Jesus is our faithful older brother. Now it says in John chapter 3, verse 17, God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. And so Jesus, our older brother, came out from the Father to seek and to save his younger brothers and sisters. He came out to seek and to save me. And when he found me in the pig pen, that he served me there, that he loved me in that space, and that he laid his life down in the midst of my sin and my depravity, and then rolled out a red carpet back to the Father, paved in his blood. So in this context with the older brother, it's so disturbing in that I truly believe from the story that Jesus is telling that the older brother most likely followed the younger brother, saw what his younger brother was doing, did nothing, and then used the information to accuse him before the Father. Now, the part that I think that is so incredibly convicting for me in that, kind of the admonition that I have for our fam today, is that I find it so disturbing when in my own life, rather than seeing people in hardship, rather than using that as the basis to join with the Holy Spirit who is making intercession before the Father, and Jesus who is making intercession before the Father, that I join them in this middle ground with my brothers and sisters. I intercede with both Jesus and the Holy Spirit and use my authority to ask the Father to be gracious and compassionate and kind and tolerant of those who are in sin, rather than using that information to accuse your children, Father. It's not my brother and sister. I find that temptation, that failure within myself. I also find that within the culture of those who profess the person of Christ as well. So my encouragement, my invitation, my correction, my exhortation is that rather than being like the older brother in the story that Jesus tells and accusing those who are younger than you in the Lord, who may have walked away and squandered what God has given them on wild living and prostitutes, even in knowing that information about notorious sinners, that you would use that information to intercede before our Father, not to join in with Satan as the accuser. Like when Peter comes to Jesus after Jesus has told them that he's going to Jerusalem, he's going to be handed over to the chief priests and elders and teachers of the law, he's going to suffer many things, be crucified, that Peter comes to him and says, "No way, no sir, no how, ain't gonna ever happen." Then Jesus confronts Peter as Satan incarnate. Peter was aligning himself with Satan in that moment, and so Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan, in this area of accusation as well, that you would be very zealous before the Lord to watch what is on your lips, that as the Father comes and brings people to your mind, that you would guard your heart, you would watch over the wellspring of all life with diligence, for out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks, and all the issues of life are oriented in the heart. So if you find yourself accusing people before the Father and that you're spying on those who are in sin in order to gain information to slander them, my encouragement to you would be like our older brother who went out from the Father with compassion, saw the horrible state of my sin, where I was at, and that instead of just returning and ignoring my lowly state, that he stayed with me, served me in the pig pen, and laid down his life for me so that I, his younger brother, could be restored to the Father's house. If you subscribe to what I'm doing, then hit the button, hit it, and then get it. Hit the bell as well so you get notified with the new content. And if you love this video, you didn't just like it, hit the thumbs down button. Pray blessings on our lives together. I love you guys lots, and I will see you in the next video, which starts now. Back in 2021, such an interesting, fun time for experimenting. I hail back to, I think it was my second or third video in of the next portion of Extraordinary Life with Elijah, and I posited you're probably going to see some differences in the quality of video, and I think there's going to be a regression, and I'm very aware of that in this time period. It's hard to think about like what to celebrate with you here in this space versus the space back in 2021, because that's where I was experimenting and learning. But here in 2025, you've been seeing all of this stuff for a long time. Such an interesting discipleship experience with my father. What's up, man? Extraordinary Life with Elijah. And today, Michael is my extra, Rachel is my extra, and Jeff is my extra, and I am the ordinary.